Imagine this. You had a medical procedure. The hospital bill arrives a few weeks later. You open it. Let's say it's $4,000. And before you question anything else, your brain usually accepts one thing. That number must be real. Someone calculated it. Someone approved it. Someone attached your name to it. But a recent KFF Health News story made me look at that number completely differently. Because a group of people figured out something most of us never realize. The amount someone tells you a debt is worth. And what that debt is actually worth can be two very different things. Before we get into it, welcome to Alani Explains, where I follow the headlines shaping our world and make sense of what they mean for our money, our health, and our everyday lives. And today, we're looking at a news story that starts with generosity, but ends up revealing something much bigger about how money actually moves. So here's what happened. KFF Health News reported on this coalition of church members. And I want to stress, these are people who do not agree on politics. Like, at all. And these people got together and decided to do one thing side by side. Buy up medical debt for total strangers in their community and then just erase it. Wipe it out. Millions of dollars of it. Gone. And your first reaction, my first reaction too, is, okay, wow, generous church people, that's a nice heartwarming story, thanks Alani. But no, because the second I read how they were able to do it, the whole thing flipped in my head. This is not a story about charity. This is a story about a secret. A secret about how debt actually works that almost nobody chasing you for money wants you to figure out. Because here's the frame I want you to hold on to for the rest of this video. Most people believe the amount on their medical bill is a fixed, sacred, non-negotiable truth. But what's actually happening is that number is a starting position in a game that's already being played over your head without you, by people who bought your desperation for pennies. Let me explain how the sausage gets made. When you get treated at a hospital and you can't pay, and let's be real, that is not some rare edge case. We'll get to the numbers. The hospital sends you bills, then more bills, then the scary red letters, then the phone calls. And at some point, the hospital does the math and goes, you know what? This person is probably never paying us in full, and chasing them is costing us money. So they give up. Sort of. They don't just delete it. Instead, they bundle your debt together with thousands of other people's debt, like a big sad casserole of unpaid bills. And they sell the whole bundle to a debt buyer, a debt collection company. And here's the number that should make your jaw hit the floor. They sell it for as little as 1 cent on the dollar. 1 cent on the dollar. Let me translate that into human terms, because when I first understood this, I had to say it out loud to believe it. That means one single dollar can buy up roughly $100 of somebody's medical debt. $100, a nice dinner, a tank of gas, buys away $10,000 of debt. And that is exactly the trick these church folks discovered. They're not writing million-dollar checks. They're taking relatively small donations and using them to buy enormous piles of face-value debt for almost nothing, then forgiving it. There's a whole charity built on this exact mechanic, RIP Medical Debt, that does it at scale. Tiny dollars, massive erasures. And this is the wait, why moment I need you to really feel. Because if a church group can buy your $10,000 debt for $100, then why on earth is a collection agency treating that same debt like it's still worth $10,000 when they call you? Wait. Why does the debt cost basically nothing to the buyer, but stay full price for you? And this is the part nobody tells you when that bill shows up in your mailbox. The debt collection industry does not make money by collecting the full amount. It makes money on the spread. They buy your debt for $1, and their entire business model is get anything above that dollar out of you. If they paid a cent on the dollar for your file and they squeeze even a few $100 out of you, They've made an absolutely absurd return. So their whole job, their whole incentive, is to make you believe the number is fixed. To make you feel like that 4,000, that 10,000 is a hard wall you have to pay in full or your life is over. Because the moment you realize the number is soft, the moment you realize they'd happily take a fraction, you become a very different customer. A customer who negotiates. And a customer who negotiates is a threat to the entire spread. So let's talk about why you don't negotiate. Because I don't want you walking away thinking people are just naive. They're not. The system is designed to make you not negotiate. Think about what medical debt feels like emotionally. It doesn't feel like a business transaction. It feels like shame. It's tangled up with the worst moment of your life. You or someone you love was sick or scared or in an emergency room at 2 a.m. You weren't comparison shopping. You weren't reading the fine print. You were terrified. And then weeks later, a bill shows up attached to that terror, and every instinct you have says, just make this go away, just pay it, don't make trouble. And honestly, it makes complete sense why people miss this. Nobody teaches you how any of this works. Nobody sits you down in school and says, hey, by the way, the debt tied to your name might be nearly worthless to the person collecting it. And that number is a conversation, not a commandment. You're supposed to just figure it out alone in a moment of crisis against people who do this professionally all day, every day. That's not a fair fight. That was never a fair fight. And okay, here's where I need to get something off my chest. We have built a world where a person can survive cancer, actually beat it, walk out of the hospital alive, and then get financially destroyed by the paperwork of surviving. Where the debt from the thing that almost killed you can trade around on a secondary market like a baseball card. Bought and sold and bundled and flipped by people who never met you, never treated you, never held your hand in that waiting room, and they get to profit off a number that they themselves paid a penny for, while you lie awake, terrified of the full amount. Somewhere along the way, getting sick turned into something that could be bought, sold, and traded by people you'll probably never meet. And that feels completely upside down. Okay, deep breath. Because this next part is why the whole story actually matters. Let's talk about scale, so you understand this isn't a niche problem. Medical debt touches roughly 100 million Americans. 100 million. That's not a fringe group. That's a third of the country. And it is the leading cause of personal bankruptcy in the United States. The number one reason people go financially underwater isn't reckless shopping or bad luck at a casino. It's getting sick. It's being human in a body that occasionally breaks. So now let's zoom all the way out and name the real thing here. The real issue is that most of us never learn the difference between the value of a debt and the price of a debt. And we have to understand that difference. Because the number they chase you for and the price they actually paid can be two completely different things. The industry understands both numbers. Most of us only ever see one. The church group's whole story only works, because that gap is real and enormous. They exploited the exact same quirk the collectors exploit. The only difference is what they did with it. Collectors use the gap to extract. These folks use the gap to forgive. And that reframe changes everything about how you should walk through the world. So here's how you play differently once you understand the game. First, and I cannot say this loudly enough, stop treating a medical bill as a fixed number the second it arrives. It is an opening offer. Before you pay a cent, check it for errors, because medical bills are riddled with them. Ask for an itemized bill. Ask about financial assistance and charity care programs. Hospitals, especially nonprofit ones, often have them, and quietly hope you never ask. Second, understand the timeline. The full price version of your debt is the version the hospital still holds. The moment it gets sold off to a debt buyer, the person on the other end of the phone paid pennies for it. That is the moment your negotiating power is at its absolute highest, because anything they collect above what they paid is pure profit for them. A settlement isn't you begging for mercy. It's you finally participating in the same market they've been playing without you. Third, and this is the mindset shift, the number is a conversation. Say it with me. The number is a conversation, not a verdict, not a moral judgment on your worth as a person. A conversation about a distressed asset that somebody bought cheap. But here's what I really want to leave you with. Because this channel is never just about surviving the system. It's about seeing it clearly enough so you can make decisions from a place of understanding instead of fear. The most powerful people in this story aren't the collectors, and they aren't even the debtors. They're the church members. And you know what made them powerful? Not money. They weren't rich. What made them powerful was knowledge. They understood a mechanic that the people around them didn't. They saw that a dollar could move $100 of weight, and instead of using that leverage to take, they used it to build something for their whole community. Political opposites, standing shoulder to shoulder, because understanding the system turned out to be bigger than the stuff they fight about. That's the whole game, honestly. The people who understand how value actually moves, how debt is priced, how assets get bought and sold behind the curtain, they get to decide what to do with that leverage. Everybody else just reacts to numbers other people made up. And that's the deeper pattern under everything I talk about here. The chase, the panic, the I just need more money to make this go away, keeps you a player in someone else's market. But understanding the machinery, owning that knowledge, using leverage on purpose instead of getting used by it, that's a different life entirely. So here's the takeaway I want stitched into your brain. Stop chasing money. Start building ownership. Starting with owning the truth about what you actually owe. I'm Alani, and I'll see you in the next one.